man?
It's just a little thing called my team going to MLS Cup in my hometown. Nothing big. No big deal. Yeah. It's not a big deal because, come on, it's LA. It happens all the time.
Oh, you're going to make a lot of fans in Seattle tonight. I can tell. This is going to be one of those shows.
If LA hadn't lost, every Seattle listener to our show wouldn't be calling in to rub it into me.
Certainly. LA advances on the away goal, tiebreaker, Juninho with the saving grace for LA. Otherwise, I thought Seattle was... Games in Seattle on that turf are never fun to watch. They're just never fun to watch. Unless Dempsey and Martins can really create something. They didn't do a whole lot of that tonight. That wasn't exactly what worked. Dempsey gets a goal. It was a Pinedo. Was it a howler for Gonzalez? Obviously, the other goal was Brad Evans at the back post after Dempsey chased something down, but it wasn't clean soccer, Jared. That's not what we saw tonight.
But I think you saw what worked well for Seattle is what they were lacking in the home leg for LA, and that's the presence of a third attacker. Marco Papa was on the field for that game, but Marco Papa is more of a creator. Lamar Nego wants to run, and he wants to run like Obafemi Martins and Clint Dempsey want to run. So I think you saw LA had problems tracking him, and that brought one less defender for the tandem of Martins and Dempsey, who oftentimes had 5 guys around them in LA. And I think you saw LA having to commit further wide, which allowed Obafemi Martins and Clint Dempsey more time to run.
We're not looking at this. Wasn't one of those comprehensive LA performances. This isn't classic LA Galaxy soccer that you sometimes see them perform when they have a lead or when they're protecting something and they can shut people down. There certainly were chances for the Sounders. Dempsey missed his chances. Martins was fairly anonymous for most of that game. If you really want to be fair, considering his stature,
I don't think that's accurate from what I saw. I think, unfortunately, Obafemi Martins wasn't able to get around the defender like he normally does. I think he got in the same positions he gets a lot, which is gets isolated with a guy out wide, or even gets his head up from kind of a deeper position in the middle. I just think that unfortunately he and Dempsey couldn't get the little 1-2s to usually free them up around the center of a defense. Outside of that, I think one of the things that when Seattle really kind of opened it up midway through that first half and things were looking tough for LA, I think you saw LA go away from what has worked for them all season and was working for them for the first 20-25 minutes, and that was the high pressure in the midfield. When they, especially when that first goal came out, it seems like LA got a bit of a shock, and then they got a little too in a shell because I think you saw, especially with Ozzy Alonso, who didn't look like himself tonight, when he was pressured on the ball, was making some bad decisions. I think that was working when LA was at their best tonight. I think that's what they did right.
Yeah, the first half was marked mostly by turnovers. That was just turnover fest back and forth. Neither team really had much going on in the midfield. You said it. Ozzy Alonso not nearly as effective as you would expect him to be at fully fit, and he certainly wasn't that. We saw him come off late in the match for Azira. You obviously had LA dealing with the lack of AJ De La Garza, which was massive. I don't know that Leonardo played poorly, Jared, but he's not De La Garza. He doesn't play off of Gonzalez the same way. You don't get those guys tracked the same way. Again, was he bad? Not necessarily, but he wasn't good either.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the way the game ended up with once LA got that away goal, having Leonardo as an option instead of AJ De La Garza actually worked to the Galaxy's favor. I don't think it's the way they maybe wanted to start the game, but you saw the whole last 25 minutes was probably just heave the ball forward and see what you can get and what can knock down, and then they're playing into the twin towers of Leonardo and Omar Gonzalez in there, and that plays right to LA's advantage, to be honest with you. I think Seattle had a decent game. I think they had a fantastic 30-minute stretch in the first half. Yes. Outside of that, I think one of the biggest killers was LA's ability to retain possession in the second half when Seattle needed the ball. And I think LA held the ball pretty well for certain stretches.
They did, but then it was interesting to watch the last 15 minutes or so when LA had the goal, the away goal, the tiebreaker. They knew that if they just managed the game, they could see it out. And yet you bring on Husidic, he's making mistakes in terms of distribution. You have Zardes was pretty good with this, but you had other guys. Even Sarvis sort of lost the plot a little bit when it came to keeping the ball. I was so surprised to see LA give the ball up. Look, if you want to lump the ball 70 yards downfield the way that Keane was doing with the clock ticking down, that's one thing. But when you have 15 minutes on the clock and you have the opportunity to string some passes together, that's not what we were seeing from LA. And more than anything else, I mean, to me, this game really just hinged on the fact that the ball fell nicely to Juninho and he hit it perfectly off the post past Fry, who was excellent, and that's it. I mean, to me, that's the only thing that matters tonight. You can talk about the balance of the play. It really doesn't matter because LA came into this game with a 1-goal cushion. All they needed was one goal, the tiebreak, and keep Seattle from scoring 3. And LA doesn't give up 3 goals. They don't. I mean, they give Seattle credit for getting the 2 that they did and sort of scrapping their way back into that match. But LA doesn't give up 3 goals. So now you have the LA Galaxy and the New England Revolution. We will certainly review the Revolution win over the New York Red Bulls in the Eastern Conference Final on Saturday. We have phone lines open all night, 201-430-2378. That is our phone number, right?
Yeah, I know you have to manage 2 of them now. 201-430-BEST, if I remember correctly, right?
That's correct. Right, look at that. You figured it out. People don't even look at we don't dial phonetically.
Like my phone has. Actually, you know what? iPhone actually does have the letters on the keys. I guess it still does. But I don't think to use them.
Now, here's our topics for tonight. New England advancing to their first MLS Cup final since 2007. And by the way, this game will be a rematch of the 2002 and 2005 finals, both won by the Los Angeles Galaxy. Everybody knows the Revolution have no cups to their name. They've been there a bunch of times and haven't figured it out. Can this be the chance? Now, this game will be in LA, so they'll give up the home field. There will be it won't be a neutral venue, so New England actually had the home field in 2002 with 60,000 people in the stands and still lost that game. But we'll get to all of that later. And in addition to the MLS stuff, we've got breaking news out of Brian Strauss and SI.com that the playoff field will be expanded in 2015 to 12 teams. We can definitely discuss that. I'm sure some people have opinions. And probably the most important thing on the docket really is that Matador is canceled. What the heck? Jared's wearing his shirt. A nice homage to the show that attempted to bring espionage and international intrigue and soccer together. It was this show, Jared, was the crystallization of everything we've wanted out of soccer culture in the United States. And it was one and done. And it's all.
Say what you want, but I actually think that show probably cost a good amount of money to make. The production value wasn't necessarily low on it.
No, that was probably part of the equation for Robert Rodriguez and company when they sat down to really figure it out. And I feel bad for our boy Gabriel Luna, who was on our show, who I
feel bad for the gorgeous Nikki Whelan.
Well, she'll find work. I think
there's a lot of actresses on that show I feel bad for right now.
Okay. Gabriel Luna favorited the tweets when we were talking about this on Twitter. I know he appreciated it. I know the people over at Matador that put that show together appreciated the support we gave them. I don't like the fact that you brought up that we may have been a jinx. I don't know why you would do that to me. I don't need that aggravation. I don't need that hurt.
I'm just saying we were on one episode and 2 episodes later it's canceled. I mean, there's might be something going on there.
Okay, I don't think we were the kiss of death, but because I don't. What you're saying and what you're putting out there into the world is that no one should ever have us on television ever again. And yes, it was just our voices, but I'd like to do TV again. I'd like to show up on some show somewhere.
This face was made for audio.
Yeah, we're not going to set ourselves up as the jinx. I don't want to be the TV, especially when it comes to soccer. This is it, right? At least goes beyond sort of the over dramatic, melodramatic nonsense that the Brits put out with Dream Team and Footballers' Wives. I like this. Let's stick with this.
Yeah, in all honesty, big loss for I don't know, not big loss, but it's a loss. I mean, I like that there was a soccer kind of driven television show out there, and it was ours.
Can we the campaign Netflix, Matador to Amazon Prime, Hulu. Matador to Hulu? Can we do that? Can they step up? Somebody step up and put a couple.
Is Hulu allowed to show topless people?
Yeah, I think if there's
can you show hot dogs and donuts on Hulu?
I don't know. By the way, it's been a little while.
Playing hot dogs and donuts with 2 fangirls in the locker room.
It's been a little while since you pulled that out. Yeah, you gotta shift this show to the internet. We will drive the viewership for this show on the internet if we can get that ported over. As long as we're given actual walk-on roles. We gotta move out of this
I don't know if I can take the rigorous auditioning process. I don't know if I can take the stress of it.
I'm just mourning. All right. More important topics, honestly, when it comes to the world of soccer is MLS Cup playoffs, and now we have two finalists. And look, if you were going to handicap the season before it started, and I think I did. Now, I might have had the Portland Timbers doing a little bit better than they ended up doing, but you could have picked two teams based on the Revolution's performance in 2013, based on what the LA Galaxy always do, and the fact that they have a quality coach and top-notch players, and obviously the defensive strength in the central midfield, everything that LA brings to the table. You may not have guessed that Robbie Rogers would play a key role as a left back, or that Dan Gargan would play a key role as a right back, or that maybe Landon Donovan would be finishing out his career. But we do get that one more game for Landon Donovan. I know people are going to get sick of this. There's going to be a week of the build-up, Jared. It's going to get real old for a lot of people. You know what? This is what the man
story. It's the story. What do you want people to talk about? Chris Tierney? Well, who honestly deserves a good amount of talking about right now, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, sure. The guy's left foot is pretty nice. He's underrated as a defender. Here's a question for you. Name the only player who was on the 2007 New England Revolution final roster and the 2014 New England final roster. One player.
Well, I know Tierney has played all of his seasons in New England, but I want to say it's Dorman.
Oh, it is Andy Dorman. Very good. You pulled that without looking it up. He did leave for a couple of years, go to England and Wales, or not England and Scotland. Back now, Revolution player as they attempt to gain their first MLS Cup championship. 201-430-2378. Or you can hit us up on Twitter. I know it's late on the East Coast. Most of you people have gone to bed already, but the West Coasters are up. This is right in your wheelhouse. It's 8:30 out where Jared is right now. It is prime time for you to be up, ready
and watching Homeland.
Well, probably, but you could turn that or pause that. That's why when you pause Homeland, you could come back and you could sit with us and talk a little bit of soccer. You can absolutely do that. Do you want to turn to the East? You want to talk about what the Revs did to the Red Bulls over 2 legs?
I think it's worthy of it. I think it's definitely worthy of it. I think, and just to go back to your point you made earlier about picking New England to make MLS Cup at the beginning of the season, I probably would have put them third. I for sure probably would have put Kansas City and New York ahead of New England. Now, granted, I've been a fanboy for about 2 seasons now for what New England's been doing, but seeing in stretches and actually see them kind of show the maturity to see a season out and to rise to the occasion in the playoffs, that's a lot of credit to Jay Heaps there with a young team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a couple of things that work here in the playoffs. They're not this team without Jermaine Jones. That's an obvious statement. I don't need to be a soccer analyst to say that they got a lot better with Jermaine Jones, but I also think that in terms of their experience level, sort of the calm that came with his presence in the midfield. He's not a calm player, but he does bring that sort of big game attitude, right? And the same thing goes for Lee Nguyen. And we didn't know Lee Nguyen was going to be quite this good in 2014. He is the beating heart of that team on so many levels, and I don't just mean in terms of creating goals, because he was sort of marked out of that first leg in New York, and he wasn't. It wasn't a huge factor in the second leg in New England, and yet you just get the feeling that because he's on the field, New England always thinks they have a chance to pull it out.
Yeah, I think what you saw in Lee Nguyen is, I don't know. What I see is the first American in quite some time, maybe outside of Dempsey, that is kind of just electric with the ball. Every time he has the ball and he's isolated, I get interested really quickly to see what he's going to do. And I think in the second leg at home for New England, you really saw him do some fantastic things one-on-one on the ball. It's hard to get the ball off his foot. He just turns and turns and turns. He stutter steps, and he's got the weapons around him to free up. Granted, one of the reasons that you and I probably wouldn't have picked New England at the beginning of the season, because no one would have thought you'd get this much out of Teal Bunbury and Charlie Davies. And say what you will about maybe over the course of the season, if they've been consistent or not, these two guys have risen to the occasion down the line here. And I think Teal Bunbury had an okay game this one, but it's the guys around Lee Nguyen and Jermaine Jones that are the ones that are really... Maybe the guys you're not paying as much attention to are the ones that are killing teams in the East right now. And I think, obviously, Charlie Davies, maybe the last thing he needed, if you're an LA Galaxy fan or any team that's going to be playing against New England, was confidence. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things he's been lacking. Fitness as well, I'm sure. But I think confidence has been one of the biggest things he's been lacking. And now you got a guy that's had 3 goals, in 4 games in the playoffs, and he's really, really he's electric coming into the MLS Cup final. And I think that's going to be a very big worrisome thing for LA. They're going to need AJ De La Garza, the quicker their center backs, ready to go.
Yeah, you think so. I mean, say what you want about Dempsey and Martins. It's not, I don't know. I don't know where you want to put this. You don't have somebody pulling the strings from deeper, and maybe that's something that LA is going to have to look out for in this matchup. Dempsey and Martins are creating, and they're typically creating at the top of the box. And you talked about Lamar Nagel, can fence sideways. He can also make some runs that are certainly dangerous, but you don't have that wing type who is able to take the ball 25 yards out and put it right on right on the numbers, right on the feet of somebody like Davies, who's going to threaten guys who aren't on the turn. And that's obviously the issue. And it goes the other way around as well. I mean, if you watched what New York was able to do to New England in that second leg, and they nearly pulled it out. If they hadn't conceded, we'd be talking about the New York Red Bulls in the championship game. Tim Cahill abused Jose Gonçalves, and you can't imagine that it's going to be any easier with Robbie Keane.
No, but also, I mean, he had the ball in his foot for the winner, and Dick wasn't able to put it away from about 6 yards out. A very, very shocking kind of miss there from Tim Cahill. But one thing I'm excited to see about going into the LA-New England matchup in the Cup final is Jermaine Jones has had tons of freedom in the center of midfield for 2 series in a row now, because the threat isn't there in the middle of the park for New England. I mean, for New York. There's Dax McCarty and Eric Alexander. Those are guys that are meant to hold up the play. They're guys that are meant to kind of clog the midfield, distribute. Jermaine Jones has been able to get forward and do whatever he wanted and play anywhere on the field. Against Juninho and Sarvis, I don't think he's going to have to be able to do quite as much upfield. I think he's going to have his hands full kind of maintaining the midfield. Those guys are going to pressure him, and they're going to pressure him hard. So we'll have to see if Jermaine Jones can be quite the same offensive factor, the guy that's kind of putting in great kind of clinical searching balls through the center of through the center backs. We'll see what Jermaine Jones we get, but I think it's going to be a more reserved Jones, if I'll be honest with you.
You would think that they're going to have to. And then look, a one-off final, different than this 2-leg thing that we've got. And say what you want about the away goals as a big picture concept over the course of several seasons or several series. There is an issue. There is an issue of whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. But in this particular season, Jared, what we've seen is the away goals rule has actually come to make things more exciting, to add that drama. Seattle's, once Juninho puts that ball in the back of the net and gives LA the away goal tiebreaker, Seattle's really got to push. It changes the way LA plays and makes it a one-sided sort of affair, and lots of players behind the ball for the Galaxy. But it did make it exciting because you knew all Seattle had to do was get that one goal, and that flips things again. And Seattle's the one hosting the MLS Cup final instead of LA. And so it's moving in it was a good thing in this particular season, but whether or not it's a good thing overall, I don't really want to say.
So for you, one of the finals is going to be great, but I would say for you, what's the number one player on New England that has to have a good game for them to win?
I mean, for them to win the game. See, they don't absolutely need win to be great to win the game, but I don't know. I say Lee win because he's their most important player attacking wise, and they're definitely going to have to score to beat LA. But at the same time, if Jermaine Jones is off, or if you have a bad performance from like Gonçalves or Soares, that's the difference between LA getting 1 or 3.
I'm gonna say Jermaine Jones, and because I think he's one of the most important guys on both sides of the ball for New England. If he's not having a bad night defensively or gets caught up field, the counterattack of LA is very fast, and they love to run it through the middle. The Juninho-Sarvis tandem can really exploit that. And I also think that if he's not on it on the offensive end, that's going to really allow LA to kind of hone in on Lee Nguyen and maybe double team him a lot, make things really difficult to him, and make everyone else beat them. And now, granted, that strategy has backfired over the course of these playoffs because everyone else has been beating the teams that they've been up against. Charlie Davies, Teal Bunbury, these are the guys that have been killing other teams when they concentrate on Lee Nguyen. But I think LA is going to take their chances that let Charlie Davies beat their guy versus allowing Lee Win to have time on the ball.
Okay. We're going to switch phone numbers. We've heard that the Best Soccer Show number is not working right now, so we're giving you a different phone number, 347-756-6276. For those of you who listen to Soccer Morning, this will be familiar. It's a Soccer Morning number, 347-756-6276. It's definitely working. I've already checked it out, so you guys can jump in on your MLS Cup final if you want to have some words in memoriam of Matador, only the greatest show in the history of television that is no more. Please do that as well. You can. I don't know, Jared. You're gonna gloat.
What drink do you pour out for Matador? Do you pour out a Heineken? Is that what you got to pour out?
If you're going alcoholic, you have to pour out Heineken. If you're not, then you got to pour out the Mountain Dew, right? Isn't it Mountain Dew?
Yeah, that's what the machine is in the locker. So you tell me that team can't that show can't succeed with Heineken and Mountain Dew money?
Yeah, I know, right? If there anything more white suburban teenage high school than to be that kid who pours out Mountain Dew? I'm pouring one out. Mountain Dew.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
702, you're on the air. What's up?
Hey, yeah, I just watched the final, and I'm an away goals rule hater, but you know what? It's worked out pretty good for the game so far for the MLS, for Eastern Conference, Western Conference.
It has. It made things very exciting again. As soon as, and that's what you saw in that Eastern Conference final, Jared. You saw Thierry Henry that they conceded and they were down a goal on aggregate, but he knew one goal changed everything. They'd be back tied on aggregate and they'd have the away goal tiebreaker. They just couldn't find it. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing. They couldn't get the job done. You thought Bradley Wright Phillips.
But if you notice,
go ahead.
I don't know. Seattle, as soon as they scored the second goal, they bunkered in for the rest of the first half, and then they came out. And after LA scored, it was just boom ball. It was route one, and Seattle is not a great route one team.
I saw the same thing happen in the Red Bulls game as they are looking for the equalizer in the aggregate series against New England. These teams know how to create goals with the ball on the ground. That's what they've done. Or to get the ball wide, hit a cross in. Get the ball deep, Jared. Get the ball to the end line, put it across. You got a big, tall center forward in there maybe, or at least you have a chance to get somebody on the end of it. Instead, what you end up with is fullbacks 65 yards up the field, hitting long, hopeful diagonals that do nothing, that end up getting bumped out by a group of five players.
I don't know that that's the away goal's fault, though. I mean, listen, anytime that score differential changes, that's what's going to happen to the game. I think, if anything, what the away goals does is just makes it more entertaining because there's more to play for constantly. Listen, we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, later in the show. MLS tinkers with this postseason like crazy. I mean, every year something's changing. This is one thing they got right, in my opinion. I like it. It's what the rest of the world does. I think it's something a lot of people understand. Well, not the rest, a lot of the world does. But I also think that it incentivizes, I think, offensive play. And if I'm going to incentivize anything, that's what I want to do. I want it to be offensive.
Appreciate the phone call. Got to move on. Other people trying to get in. 208, you're on the air.
Hey, guys. It's Luke.
Hey, Luke.
I was just calling. I am an Ohio guy, but that crowd was fantastic. That's where we have to have the Mexico game now from pretty much here on out.
Never gonna happen.
That was insane.
Never gonna happen.
You don't think so?
No, because
not until the streak is broken.
Well, there's artificial turf in that stadium. That's not going to be they're not going to play USA Mexico on that fake stuff. They're just not going to do it. And here, I am not one of the people who bash Seattle. I don't really hate on their fans. I get it that sometimes they're annoying. It's the whole invention joke, blah blah blah. I get it. Okay, I get why people hate on Seattle, but they're successful. They're a quote unquote big club, and they just started in 2009. But you give them credit for putting 43,000 in that building tonight, getting that average up to 36 or 37, whatever it's been all the regular season. They put 60,000 in that stadium for games before. But at the same time, I will continue to bash them for the turf because it's not, for me, it's not about the injury thing and whether or not the studies back up that ACLs are more susceptible. I don't care about that. It makes for ugly soccer, Jared. It makes for Super Bowl soccer. Anyway, ball is, it's that ball you put a quarter in at the grocery store and you got it out and it bounces like 20 feet in the air. That's what happens in Seattle, and I hate it every single time. And now I'm not knocking my microphone around because I'm so angry. What's up?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that's my biggest issue with it too. Is just the ball just doesn't bounce true. It doesn't roll true. Can you get by it? Can you play a game? Yeah, you can play a game. Can you play at a good level? Yeah, but it just still bothers me when I see a ball not run true, and I see it in the face of the player too when they expect it a true bounce. And that what worries me that. In my neighborhoods, even everyone's going like artificial turf, even like at local soccer complex and stuff. And I'm wondering, is my kid even going to know what a true bounce looks like?
I think it's different in like a futsal kind of environment, a small field, small sided game. I think it's different. You get the ball on the ground, the ball staying on the ground most of the time. You're not really hitting a ball up in the air to go forward if you got 5-a-side, okay? But when you get to this big, you get to full-size soccer, it becomes a problem. You got anything else, Ohio guy? Okay, I'm gonna let you go. No, all right, man. Appreciate the phone call. Let's move on. 662, you're on the air.
I was just, and I'm a Seattle Sounders fan, and I hated the last 10 minutes.
Because it what? Because it wasn't Sounders soccer, or because they couldn't score?
No, it was just that, like they were just trying to boot the ball up. And Gonzalez and Leonardo were just batting it back the other way, just like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like the 2 goals that they had, they were pretty much like playing it like on the ground, playing 1-2 straight through the middle, and that's how they got all their goals. So.
Yeah, it definitely was not a prototypical Seattle Sounders performance in that regard. Appreciate the phone call from Mississippi. How do you become a Sounders fan? I let him go, but how do you become a Sounders fan in Mississippi?
I think there's 2 teams that do it, LA and Seattle. Those are 2 teams I think that have that crossover marketing. And we talked about it before. A lot of it comes down to who's on TV.
I know. Sounders are on TV. And I think the fans are obviously a big draw. The 43,000 tonight and crowds they get, that's a big draw. But obviously the Sounders can play good soccer. I'm so sad, and I'm really, it's not even that I'm really criticizing the team because it's not up to them. It's the Seahawks that make this happen, and you have to pick your poison. Speaking of this, Jared, this is. Here's your problem if you're the Seattle Sounders. Do you go and try to find a place to build a stadium that's going to hold 25,000 because you're not going to have the money to build a 70,000 seat stadium, which is what you might be able to draw on your best day, because you want to have real grass, or do you continue to play in a building that was designed with soccer in mind because it holds 60,000 or 70,000, but it's got artificial surface? It's such a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
To me, it comes down to the answer to one question: would that stadium be downtown? If that stadium's downtown, I think you go for it.
I can't imagine how it could be. I really can't imagine how it could be. 805, you're on the air.
Oh yeah, baby! This is Scott from LA Galaxy and the Cup. Jared,
in the Cup.
Where are the parties? Because we are in championship game.
I'll tell you what. Just follow me on Twitter. I'll put some feelers out for you. Okay, I'll let you know where it's at. Here's Scott. I'll tell you right now, baby. If you want to be my designated driver, you can just roll.
That's right.
Wait, is Jason coming out? Is Jason going to make a Kickstarter campaign to get Jason?
That is TBD. It's very unlikely. I would put the chances of me going to LA for the final at about 5% right now. But maybe something pops up between now and Sunday when that game goes off at StubHub Center. By the way, what time is that game?
5% is 0%.
It is great.
Yeah. Seattle's not going to be there, even though I thought they invented soccer. They invented the field turf. They invented diving and being little peas. I won't say that word because I know it's a family show. But, Seattle, you are done. Stop complaining on Twitter. You are done. You are done. Galaxy, baby.
Galaxy.
We are in the shit. Jared, I was out.
All right, there he goes.
My man's saying this so I don't have to.
But unfortunately, this is Los Angeles. And you talent. I need stars.
New rule for the entirety of MLS Cup week: you have to walk around saying Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, like I'm hawking a
Los
loogie. By the way, this from Navid, one of our listeners, saying that he invented a shot called a Matador bomb, and it's half Mountain Dew, half Heineken, and you drop a shot of tequila in and chug.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. I can't even. Why did we not come up with that? I'm gonna just.
We're riot till we die. We're born to fight. We go all night. We're riot till we die.
There it is. LA Riot are no more. Hey, that does open up the possibility of the new LA franchise just glomming on and taking the LA Riot name for themselves. Now, I know that there's already a supporters group for the Galaxy called the Riot Squad. I know that would be a problem. And actually, no, I'm just kidding. You don't really want to invoke those images for your team's brand. It's probably not a good idea.
Listen, it's bad enough one team already has a Riot section with whose like a logo has a gas mask. You know, like how much, especially with the state of the world today, is that really what we want to perpetuate that much more?
No. There's better things to do. That I do love that the fictional television show said, "Screw it, we're going all in." On the infantry of the LA Riot, whatever. All right, 347-756-6276. If I missed you, if you want to get in on anything that's going on with MLS and the MLS Cup final, LA Galaxy hosting the New England Revolution on December 7th there at the StubHub Center. I'm sure there'll be 27,000. Now, let me say something, Jared, and I'm sure this is going to upset you just a little bit. Actually, no, I don't think it will, because you are a very self-aware LA guy. You are well aware of the shortcomings of the LA sports fan.
I try to signal before I make turns.
Okay, well, there's that. But like I said, you are certainly aware of the shortcomings of the Los Angeles area sports fan. They're great on some level.
Of which there are many. Yes.
They will show up at 27,000 for this final. I'm sure it'll be a packed house. I imagine that there will be a small contingent of New England Revolution fans who make the cross-country trip. But it's kind of an antiseptic environment. I mean, I was there for the MLS Cup final in 2012 when LA hosted the Houston Dynamo, and I had a good time, and it was a nice day out at the field.
And antiseptic environment. Does that mean like if you go to Seattle, you get VD? Like, what does it mean that you have antiseptic environment?
It means that there's just not a lot of heat there. Like, it's just like they cheer at the right times, and then they make a lot of noise when there's a goal, but it doesn't have that edge to it. It's a Seattle edge.
So you're saying that the fact that our confetti comes from a cannon and not from the fans, it does not work in our favor.
There's that. It's more of a presentation of soccer rather than an engaging sort of experience that you would get if you went and sat with the Timbers Army. So you just watch that game in Portland. It's I haven't been to what is it called now? Providence Park. Well, can't remember. I haven't been there yet, so I don't know what it's like in person. Maybe it's not as good as it looks like it is on TV. I haven't been to Seattle. I don't know what it's like in person. Maybe it's not as good as it looks on TV. I've been to Sporting Park. I know how loud that place was last year for that MLS Cup final in 5-degree weather. LA is not that. It's not that.
I don't think you're gonna find it. Could be Lakers Game 7, and I don't think it's gonna be much different. To be honest with you, I think there'll be a lot of cheering and a lot of rioting afterwards that shows some kind of passion, I guess. But no, I think you're right. You probably can't find an equivalent atmosphere in any professional sport in LA, and that's just we just don't do that stuff. We're worried about how we look. We're worried it doesn't look cool to. No, here's what it really is. In LA, it's not cool to care about something.
This is the problem. This is the problem.
We spend so much time on our hair trying to make it look like we didn't care to make our hair look good.
Yeah. And it's not that I begrudge LA the right to host. They finished the higher seed that made the final. I get it. It's fair. When I was at that LA hosted final in 2012, you and I did some shows out there. It was a great experience. Again, the weather kind of sucked. It actually rained a lot of the time.
Actually, raining today, to let you know, raining today in LA. What's
up with that? Can you guys push the weather? I mean, at least actually, I do remember that the day of the game, it wasn't too bad. I don't think there was any rain that day.
We sat under a canopy. I remember that. There was a canopy needed for that day.
Okay, but it wasn't like pouring. It was just this really drizzly. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe that sucked some of the energy out of the crowd. You obviously had the berm open because that it's a big game. You open up that grass hill area.
I kind of like that LA doesn't get too crazy about something like the MLS Cup because it's probably going to piss off everyone else even more because we would do that so different. And we're like, just another game, just another cup. What, 5? Okay. Oh, you don't have 5? My bad.
But look, when you talk about the presentation of the league, I'm going to use that word again in a different context here, and you talk about what you want to show the rest of the world, and you certainly want to show American sports fans who are only now coming around to the notion of paying attention to MLS. I kind of want that Seattle thing, that Portland thing, that Sporting Kansas City thing, even RFK Stadium. While it would be a terrible place to host an MLS final, it's falling. You would get 25,000 people or whatever it is in that building. The supporters group would make the stand shake. It would feel like a passionate soccer match with a really engaged and invested fan base in LA. And I know that maybe this is championship games regardless, although definitely didn't happen in Kansas City. Those were all real hardcore fans who showed up. But in LA, I feel like you're going to get a bunch of people like, oh, there's an MLS Cup game can I get tickets? Oh, cool. Let's go. Like,
because everyone in LA is a Valley girl. Because everyone in LA is a Valley girl. You know what's funny is that a bunch of people of our listeners don't even know what a Valley girl is because it's such an 80s thing.
But there's some guy who's going to get tickets to this match and he's going to take like buddies and they're gonna have beers, but they're not going to care. They're not going to know. Oh, Robbie Keane, who's he play for? Oh, he plays for Ireland. He's Irish. Okay. Like they have no clue.
I'm Irish. That's awesome. Let's chug a beer.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like I think my grandpa's Irish. Let's all drink. Yeah. So,
but one thing I'm kind of interested to see, and that's LA, and people may not know this, has a very huge Vietnamese a contingent. There's a huge Vietnamese population in Southern California. I'm wondering, I really want to get a real depth test here on the popularity of Lee Nguyen. We always hear he's huge. The Don Juan of Saigon, right? He's huge in Vietnam. I want to see if those fans show up for the Lee Nguyen. The winter is coming. By the way, one of the best slogans and tifos ever in MLS.
Right. Now, I did see before the TIFO actually happened yesterday at Gillette Stadium. And by the way, give credit to the Reds fans. I think they showed up I think there were 30,000 people in that building for that game. Now, it's a drop in the bucket in a giant NFL stadium, but they did what they needed to do as a home fan base to support their team. It's not a good location and blah, blah, blah. Before I saw the TIFO, our boy Will Parchman from Top Drawer Soccer, I think he brought that up. I think he was the one who maybe it was him or maybe it was somebody else who tweeted.
I'm disappointed it wasn't me.
Winter is coming with Lee Nguyen, but I don't know if that's where the fans got it or not. It doesn't really matter because I think it's a brilliant idea. It could definitely spark in a couple of different places. They used the Stark Wolf on Dire Wolf on. It's fantastic, brilliant.
Well, I mean, it's very. And I was having this conversation with someone I can't remember who it was on Twitter about. Does that mean that LA is the Lannisters? And I would say there's something to be said there, but I think I did make the comment that Philly's more about the brotherly love.
Saw that. So bad.
Jay Rodius.
I saw this conversation, and it wasn't actually about whether or not the teams are the families or the actual houses. It was whether or not the cities match up with cities from Westeros. So you had the question was
we haven't seen where's it something head or something. Where are the Lannisters from?
They're from Casterly Rock.
Yeah, we've never seen Casterly Rock in the show.
No, we haven't. I don't think we've seen it, but we certainly know of it in abstract. So you could make the argument. And the Lannisters, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Lannisters are relatively new money, right? Like,
I don't know. Their slogan was, "We always pay our debts." I mean,
I know, but I feel like they got that money by like taking the money from other houses that died, right? Like that's sort of how they did that. Could you make that argument that LA is a little
and the Turleys are the old money?
Yeah, I think that's something. I think that's sort of like that. Yeah, but if we got you have Sunspear. Would you put LA on Sunspear just because it's sunny? I don't know. Is that fair?
I get an idea that listen. The Lannisters are all blonde white folks with like rich people problems. That's pretty LA.
LA. So then we put LA on Casterly Rock. I guess that would make maybe that makes Seattle the where the Ironborn are from, where the
No, I think Portland's the Ironborn and Seattle is more well, I guess I was thinking of them as Winterfell, but man, I guess New England works for Winterfell.
New England has already claimed Winterfell just by their fantastic tifo.
But your name is Portland. I mean, it has to do with ships, right? You got to do Ironborn for Portland.
If you're going to do the Night's Watch, you get sent to Toronto.
Yes. That's where all the rejects and convicts go.
All right, now look, we've got I think on paper this is an excellent matchup, LA and New England, and we'll come back on Wednesday and we can sort of break down more, Jared, you and I, from an analyst perspective. And that's not really what we do, but we can break down the matchup and who's got advantage. And I'm going to worry about Juninho and his injury status. He did come off in that game. Maybe a precautionary thing, but he didn't look great when he came off. You obviously have AJ De La Garza and his status for the championship game. When it comes to New England, can they handle that midfield? Is Jermaine Jones going to have the run that he had against New York? Is Charlie Davies really going to be able to split those center backs the way that he did against New York? Probably, but you still need to get something out of Teal Bunbury. You have Scott Caldwell, who is very key with Donovan and Keane, and them roaming around that, behind.
I'm actually nervous to see if Bruce Arians been playing kind of the hotter hand, more offensive hand in Ishizaki over Baju Husidic, and I'm wondering if. Listen, obviously he played Ishizaki up against Yedlin tonight. Excuse me, actually Leo Gonzalez tonight. So that's not Leo Gonzalez is a good fullback going forward. I mean, but Chris Tierney is on a tear right now, and he's delivering some great balls in the box. I wonder if they'll go with Baju Husidic, the more defensive option, rather than Ishizaki, who will get caught forward.
And we will get to all of this. I'm going to get to a phone call now, and then we're going to switch to 2015 and this news that came out today. 7:04, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, this is Jay from Charlotte.
What's up?
Speaking of new soccer fans, especially for MLS, I'm actually one of the guys that the World Cup 2014 caught in, and ever since then I've been wanting to watch soccer, and MLS caught me into that. DC United fan came to me pretty organically, and I'm not that actually happy about the LA win. It was kind of between LA, DC, and New York between which team for me. And it just so happened a friend of mine was United fan and winning with that. But I am a huge fan of the away goals. And that's honestly I've ever known for MLS. And like you said, I love the excitement and the instant changes that scoring.
So let me ask you a question then. As a new fan of soccer, how hard was it for you to get your head around the away goals rule in general? Because it's something that's unique to soccer, and I think for those of us that have watched European soccer for years and years, it's not that hard for us to accept it. But what was it like for you?
And I actually had to look it up and read exactly how it worked. That being said, I also had to do the same thing with offsides. So
with offside, yeah, I mean it's there are some complexities there. Oh man, I'm glad you're a new fan. Glad you found us. I mean that's pretty cool. I'm all down for this show being accessible.
Once you figure it out, it's pretty simple. So.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate that. Enjoy the MLS Cup final, even though it's not the team you wanted to see there, and hopefully we can talk to you next season when DC United comes back around and gives it another shot.
Yeah, right. All right, guys, take care.
All right. There you go. I think this is an international phone call. I'm not sure where this one's coming from. Who's on the line with me? Hey, Ben from Switzerland?
Nice.
Yes. I like speaking with Jay Rodgers or Jason Davis.
Yeah, you're speaking with both of us right now.
All right, cool. I just want to say I'm really looking forward to fly over for the weekend to see the game.
Okay.
Flying in?
I'm really listening to the show because it's like 6 a.m. in the morning, and yeah, I'm really excited. And if still needs to fly out to LA, because I would be willing to fund his trip.
You'll be willing to do what now?
to partially fund his trip to LA.
Wow.
He said
Wow.
He cost a lot.
You know, that makes me incredibly uncomfortable. But
Switzerland's got some deep pocketbooks for their banks over there. You know. But by the way, by a Swiss fan, are you a Stefan Fry fan? Was that an interest to you tonight?
Actually, not. I'm a member of the LA Riot Club since a couple of years, and so even though it's Swiss Fry is Swiss, the Galaxy is my team.
It's truly an international game. How many numbered accounts do you have? Because I'm just floored right now. I'm kidding, of course. Let's how do we do this? Trevor, why don't we have this gentleman email somebody? How about we do that? Am I bright red right now?
If we do this, he gets something very special. We have to do something like in a live show where he gets to pick a segment, a topic, or he get a dare that we have to do sometime over the week.
Okay. Hey, Ben, why don't you email show@bestsoccershow.com, and if you could include your phone number just so we can verify that you're the one we spoke to. That's something know nobody else does. If you just could include your phone number that you're calling from tonight, I'll give that.
Jason Davis could wear a Switzerland shirt the entire weekend.
I would be happy to. I think I would be happy to do that.
Or a Riot Squad shirt if he's a real supporter.
I appreciate the commitment, man, and hell, I would love to see you in LA if that's possible.
All right, we'll soon make it happen.
All right,
I'll make the show. Enjoy the show and continue with the show. I love it.
All right.
It going even at work. I'll work out.
Appreciate it, Ben. Go ahead and drop that email, and we'll take it. All right.
Have a wonderful. I'm going to work in 10 minutes. So.
Bye, Ben. Have a good day.
What if Ben is actually works for FIFA?
Oh no, is that good or bad?
Listen?
What if I and somehow I end up in FIFA's pocket? What would I do? Like,
what if his name is actually Ben Hamim?
What? It's Ben Hammam, but
whatever.
And that guy's actually Qatari and not Swiss.
He could be in Switzerland. He could be in Switzerland for. I mean, actually, it's probably the last place he would be right now. To be honest with you,
he's been banned from FIFA. I think he's probably not in Switzerland right now. All right, that was an amazing phone call from Ben in Switzerland. Let's talk 2015. I'll open up the phone lines on this topic as well because I would love to get the initial visceral response from people who may not have heard this news or are still seething over it just a little bit. 347-756-6276 is your phone number. Courtesy of Brian Strauss at Sports Illustrated, news has dropped that the MLS Board of Governors has decided to expand the MLS playoff field for 2015 from 10 to 12 teams, and through this process, we'll add another play-in game. So, like the 4-5 matchup we get now, you will have a 3-4 play-in game. I think, 2-3 and 2-3 and 4-5 play-in game before you have your conference semifinals, your conference finals. So basically, the top seeded team in both conferences gets a 1 week bye, or is it a 2 week bye? Because they're home and homes the first round. You have those playing games are midweek games, so that's the way that's been the last couple of years since they went to this format. So you have the 4-5 matchup was a midweek game, and then they went into the first leg of the conference semis that weekend.
That's correct.
Okay?
That's correct.
That's the lack of benefit, or the disadvantage you have from finishing in one of the play-in spots if you're the 4th or 5th seed right now. So now if you are the 2 all the way down to 5. You're playing that midweek round, so the top seed gets the extra rest before they go into a semifinal on the weekend. It doesn't change anything.
That in itself, I'm fine with. Okay, reward the higher teams. I'm always a fan of rewarding the higher seed teams. Make the regular season worth something. But here's the part that I can't support. 12-team postseason.
I know. 12 out of 19 next, or 12 out of 20 next
20.
year. 21. 12 out of 21. Sorry, 12 out of 21 in 2015 because Orlando and New York City. No, 12 out of 20 because Chivas USA is no more.
Yes, I'm sorry, 20.
12 out of 20 teams in the playoffs. It was bad enough when it was more than it. If it's ever more than half. I mean, it was more than half this year, 19. It's more than half. It's bad. Don't do it. It drives me nuts. 540. You're on the air. What's up?
Jason, what's going on, Jay Rodius? This is Tyler Yeah.
What's going on, Tyler?
I just wanted to call and holler at you guys about the playoffs and whatnot, structure changes. My initial reaction kind of was like you, Jason, it's kind of gimmicky to have, like, we're talking 60% of the teams in the league. That's a little bit ridiculous. I think ideally, if I was the one in charge of the whole get up, I would probably have waited because in 2016 or down the road, whatever, it'll be back to 53 and then on down 50%, which is in line with major American sports, specifically the NHL and the NBA, who have 53%. But I think what it comes down to is that they're trying to add more games that quote unquote mean something. You know what I mean? As far as the postseason, because I mean the postseason is short as it is.
But you're acknowledging that your regular season means nothing.
Yeah, I don't think that you add meaningful games by expanding your playoff field. I think you add meaningful games by increasing the reward for finishing higher in the standings. If you want to give that first seed a real advantage, then give them a real advantage. I mean, I don't know that 2 weeks rest is a real advantage in soccer, Jared, when we're talking about a sport with rhythm. But you could figure out a way. I mean, you could make it. I don't know. You could make. Although I'm not super enthralled with that idea.
What do they have left? But what carrot do they have left to dangle? If you win your division, you get CONCACAF Champions League spot and money that goes along with it. You're getting a first round bye. You're getting a chance to host MLS Cup if you make the final. Really, what is there left to them to give the top seed?
I mean, a choice of whether or not you want the first or second leg is a very small thing, but you could do that.
I think what this is really about, Jason, is that the new television contract mandates all postseason games must be televised. And I think it's a way to get more games on television in a very tight window, and that means something. Because let's be honest, the playoffs this year gave us some of the best games we saw all season long. True or false?
Yes, I agree with that.
So I think that's what it's about, really.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I mean, Tyler, again, I fundamentally, on principle, against giving more than half the league playoff spots.
Me too.
I think that.
I agree with that.
I'm
with you 100%.
At the same time, Jared's got valid points here. And my other concern, and this has been my concern for a couple of years now, and I think you'll hear this from a lot of MLS fans and observers who want to see the league make a mark. Sports fans are creatures of habit, Jared. We do things. It becomes like a ritual from year to year. Okay, that baseball, the postseason comes around in October, and that there are certain things. That for college football, they've changed some things recently, and I'm against that too, and not because I'm stodgy or old fashioned, just because I think people have habits that they enjoy. You are not giving MLS fans an opportunity to create those habits, a tradition from year to year. How is there any tradition for MLS when you change the playoff format?
Not to cut you off, but I think MLS has shown that they're not above avoiding, creating quote unquote traditions if they feel that it's better for their bottom line or something of that nature. You know what I mean, structurally.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm obviously MLS has chosen to build into their league the ability to be maneuverable, Jared, to be able to say we want to change something because we think it benefits us, and I get that. And I know if you expand the league, it would be natural to expand the number of playoff spots. But again, in half the league, it's just on that number. It just drives me nuts.
Maybe MLS's tradition you speak so much about is that day where we find out what the rules are going to be different next year. That is our tradition. And we know every year. Hey, there's that time. Remember last year when they changed the playoff structure for us and they decided to go from most goals scored to goal differential? We did that. It's that time of year.
Yeah, our tradition is our lack of tradition. Tyler, appreciate the phone call, man.
All right, guys.
Call me on Soccer Morning tomorrow. Bye. Byron, you're on the air. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while since I've called.
It has been.
I'm calling because I am excited. I am going to watch my favorite player in his last game, and I'm going to watch my first MLS Cup this Sunday, so I am pumped, and I am excited.
Jared, what would it be like? And I'm not saying I want this to happen. I really have no dog in this fight. I enjoy the New England Revolution. institution. I enjoy what they do. Lee Wynn's a very nice player. Jermaine Jones is fun.
As do I.
But what would it be like if Landon Donovan lost the MLS Cup on his home field in his last game as a professional soccer? What would that be like?
I think there's a good percentage of Twitter that would be out of their minds happy. Is he the most polarizing player in U.S. soccer? Yeah. Klinsmann might be a more polarizing figure in U.S. soccer.
In this moment, Landon Donovan's got longevity, my friend. He lasts. That man's got staying power.
But I think that, listen, if you're one of the people that doesn't like the narrative that's going to be written over the next week, maybe you should just take happiness in the fact that that narrative may be flipped on its head and you can watch everything go wrong come next Sunday.
That's if you are a hater, and I would have my issues with you, especially if you go out of your way to hate. But if you are a hater, you should revel in the fact that the stakes and the potential for absolute disaster have never been higher when it comes to Landon Donovan. If he had crashed out in the Western Conference final, then you wouldn't have had this chance to potentially see him. And the Schadenfreude is not a thing I'm into, but at least with Donovan, but you could have, this is the biggest chance for the most Schadenfreude possible. Losing the last game you ever play, an MLS Cup final on your home field in front of your fans, blah, blah, all those things.
Yeah, but see, people have to understand why the narrative is so important, because if you are MLS or you're someone covering your MLS, you're a media outlet covering, this is your way into the casual sports fan. If it was Seattle versus New England, what's your narrative? What's your thing that's going to bring the guy that knows a couple guys that play soccer's names and going to pull you in to watch this game if you wouldn't otherwise do it?
It would be the crowd. It would be Dempsey, obviously. You would push him hard, but he's not Donovan. We know that. It would be maybe the stadium thing in New England, although the team's
I think a lot of people feel that the narrative is easy, as it's lazy or something like that, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
No, this is true. Just because it's the obvious narrative doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile narrative.
I guarantee you there's plenty of journalists right now that don't want to write that story because that story's been written and there's nothing original to say. But there's a lot of journalists that also say, hey, that's some easy money.
Can I make a statement? Okay, look.
Go ahead.
I am, my NFL team. Most of these fans out there, they know my NFL team. I'm a Denver Broncos fan. I've been that way since I was knee-high to a whatever, grasshopper. John Elway was our, everything as a Denver Broncos fan. And he went out on top, retired, won a Super Bowl in his last game. You couldn't ask for anything better. And if Landon Donovan managed to win an MLS Cup in his final game on his home field, which is something Elway couldn't do, and walk away into the sunset as a champion the last time, I'm going to say that I'm not going to say it's bigger in American sports consciousness. It never will be because of the NFL. But I'm going to say it's more. It's bigger. There's more to it. It's more substantial. Again, because of all of those other variables, and because of the fact that Landon Donovan is the poster child for the entire sport in this country. John Elway was just the latest in a long line of excellent quarterbacks who played in the NFL, and other guys have passed him since. So what I'm saying, it's Landon Donovan going out on top like this would be among, in this context, the retiring player context, among the most amazing stories we've ever seen in this country.
Yeah, for the sport, absolutely.
Well, no, for any sport. That's what I'm saying. I'm taking it out of...
Okay, you're saying that, but that's because soccer has something that other sports doesn't. That's the international aspect.
Oh, sure, yes, absolutely. Byron, got anything else you want to say, man?
No, just see you guys on Sunday.
Okay, man. All right, there you go. I don't know if
he's banking on that Swiss money, baby. He's waiting to get that Swiss money.
I don't know if he was like eating cereal or what he was doing over there, but he's just hanging out, listening, doing something crunchy. 347-756-6276. We've got a couple of minutes left. It's very late for me on the East Coast. I still got to do.
Can I spend that time telling you a non sequitur?
Yeah, be my guest. That's what we're known for.
Okay, so today I'm doing my parental responsibility and making sure my kid watches certain holiday movies. 4 years old, right? So
I want approval on this list, by the way. I think I deserve that.
So just so you know, first one today, Home Alone. Age appropriate, holiday movie.
Yeah, hold on a second. your kid is younger than my kid, so your kid is 5 years old, correct?
4, almost 5. He'll be 5 in like a month.
Okay, 4. I am not of this opinion, okay, but the other parental element in my personal situation had some issues with Home Alone because of the slapstick slam and hit and punch.
You should have seen my 2 kids today. The big one's making the little one laugh by running into a desk at 10 times. So I mean, that's sorry. My wife was already like, "Oh, he's just like me. He thinks things are funny when they fall down." Okay, but here's the disconnect though in Home Alone. He's watching the kid put aftershave on his hands, put him to his face, and he goes, "Why does he scream?" And I can't even explain to him because aftershave doesn't really exist in men's culture anymore.
Oh, I don't own aftershave.
I don't either. I own some cologne.
Sometimes I think to myself, like, well, first of all, I don't shave, obviously. But even when I did, and occasionally, like, a razor very rarely touches this face. Maybe it touches my neck. Maybe that's what it is. I shave this. Sometimes I wonder, like, am I supposed to have aftershave? Like, it wasn't one of those things passed down. Like, my dad never told me, here, you have to have aftershave when you're done.
Yeah, what was the need of it anyway?
Like, it obviously burns.
Yes,
like,
yes.
And I suppose that it is essentially like cologne, right? Like, it's sort of like this, I don't know, is it supposed to, like,
make you feel fresh afterwards? Or does it make sure that, like, the alcohol kills any germs that might be getting in those open pores you just did?
That's what I want to know. Is it seal in the freshness? Is that what it's like? Somebody
do we have any listener from JQ or like something like that works for JQ that give me the answer to this? Men's Health.
Okay, prevents infections. Trevor says maybe he knows this. I was going to say, you know what? We have.
I've been shaving my whole life. I've never had a face infection.
Yeah, I can't. Reduces irritation. Well, if it irritates you off the bat, like
here's the thing. Then maybe the fact that we don't shave with razors that look like it could be machetes anymore, and I have like a nice triple blade that vibrates. I don't have the irritation and stuff like that people used to have.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
What was your dad's aftershave of choice? The like super old man style. What did your dad put on afterwards?
I don't really, I don't remember if my dad had it. I think I remember like Brute. Was there a Brute aftershave?
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, it's one of the main. I'd say the big 3. And my dad had Old Spice. He was an Old Spice man.
Yeah, there was no Old Spice in my house. I remember Brute, and I think there may have been some Aqua Velva occasionally.
I think I'm gonna go buy some aftershave now. I think I need that old man game. Listen, I'm almost 40. Maybe I need to get on the old man game.
But I think if you're gonna do this, you have to go all. You have to go
get
all
the brush.
in.
Get the brush with the I do the brush.
You gotta get the brush. You gotta get the brush. You gotta do like I want to say you gotta get a straight razor, but I mean that might not be safe.
Isn't that kind of like hipster shaving kit now? Isn't that kind of like? Yeah.
Or you can go to the barber.
I don't want to be part of whisker culture.
What are you trying? Have you ever been to a barbershop where they use a straight razor?
Yes.
Like on the back of
on
your
my
neck?
neck. Yeah, on my neck. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and the hot towels and the massage and the whole thing.
It's nice. I kind of want to go back to Mayberry where Floyd the barber would like straight razor my face, you know?
That's what I'm saying. Like that doesn't happen anymore. And yeah. So just the aftershave, because I feel like there are some other anachronisms in there that I'm probably not thinking.
The kid
about.
pops in a VHS tape. I mean, he's a kind of, but we only watch Star Wars on VHS in my house, so he knows the struggle. And so like that's the only way he's allowed to watch Star Wars. So he knows what a VHS tape is a little bit. But other 4-year-old appropriate holiday movies. What's on that list?
Oh, you mean like full length, not like animated classics, but like the full length
animated classic. I think obviously Grinch is approved.
Yeah, Grinch is approved. The Charlie Brown thing, that's obviously up there for me. All the old school stop animation stuff, that's must. I mean, you don't even need to mention it. Like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
It still translates, huh? It still translates.
Yeah, I think so. Sure, that stuff's like cartoons for them.
I can't have my kid watch Scrooged or Christmas Vacation yet, though, right?
Scrooge is definitely not age appropriate. Christmas Vacation. See, here's the thing, though. So much of that stuff goes right over their heads. Like, unless
I have a feeling that the Shitter's Full isn't going to go over my kid's head.
No, okay, that's probably true. My kid, being 6, would definitely say, "Oh, he said a bad word," and then we would have to have a 10-minute conversation about how he shouldn't say that word and what he meant by that word. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Christmas Vacation. I don't know. Full length movies. There's not a whole lot of like really high quality Christmas full-length movies. Christmas Vacation, Home
Christmas
Alone.
Story.
Yes, absolutely. That one's definitely on there. But then your kid's going to want a BB gun, so you got to figure that out.
Yeah, I'll
I don't
get
know.
with it.
There might be a couple more in there somewhere. All right. We are wrapping up this show. I've got to go do some writing before I go to sleep at some point tonight. I'll be back on Soccer Morning tomorrow. Make sure you listen to that on soccerly.com. Jared and I, we have all the plans in the world to be here on Wednesday We'll get really more into what the matchup's going to be. Maybe by then we'll have some updates on any potential injury issues, especially LA. Watching Juninho very, very closely, whether or not AJ De La Garza is going to be able to come back for the Galaxy. That could have a big impact on this game coming up at the StubHub Center on December 7th. LA Galaxy, New England Revolution for the third time. Remember, LA is 2-0 against the Revs in the MLS Cup final. Jared, you got any parting words as we say goodbye?
I think that's it, dude. That's all I got. Viva LA. Los Angeles.
Make sure Best Soccer on iTunes. Give us a rating and review. It helps us out a lot. You can get us at show@bestsoccershow.com. Emails, Best Soccer Show on Twitter. You got something for me? Go ahead.
I want more reviews than iTunes. We need to hit 500. People step out there, do something that's free.
Yeah, do that. We'll talk to you guys Wednesday. Bye.
Playing hot dogs and donuts with two fangirls in the locker room?
I don't let him. Which and they play very good. Someone seems to think we are family. But unfortunately, this is Los Angeles. And in modern town. And it starts.
Jay Rodius.